Dun, 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 dun. Let's face it, the best thing about that TV show is the theme song, and that's saying a lot.
So today on Why We're Singing, we're talking about our dream. If we could take Game of Thrones and just make it into an awesome game, what would it be? And I think if I was to compare my sort of mental image of what the game is to certain games that are out there right now, I'd go with Skyrim, but then I would add in the combat of chivalry.
I think if you're doing a Game of Thrones game, it's got to be a turn-based strategy game with a real-time strategy component. It's kind of got to be like Shogun Total War, only instead of set in Japan and with daimyos fighting against each other, it would be the different houses.
So there's a lot of hope for the Game of Thrones Telltale game, but you know what? That's not the type of game I want to see. A game that's really big on my wish list right now is, Lord of the Rings, Shadows of Mordor.
Game of Thrones, our sacred love. Game of Thrones. My Game of Thrones would be very akin to Guardian Heroes. Imagine an M-rated Guardian Heroes, but you can pick all your favorite characters and you can go through the different kingdoms and choose your own different adventures. That would be amazing. What?
You add in the combat of chivalry, and then you get that sort of intense melee action as well. And then sort of the expansive, vastness of Skyrim. And then you're just in the world of Game of Thrones. You're in Westeros or,
So you pick a faction, and each faction has its own stuff. Like if you're the Lannisters, you start with a bunch of gold. If you're Daenerys, obviously you got the dragon. If you were like the Greyjoys, you'd have like a big ship army and stuff. And this would be the faction I would pick right here, the Wildlings.
There's this mechanic in there about if you find a general and then you beat him, or if you burn him, or if you scare him or something, he will remember you, and he'll tell other generals about you, or you can influence him to break ranks in their army. Imagine that in the Game of Thrones universe. You come across different characters and you make friends, or you make alliances, or you piss someone off and they remember you, and it's just constantly creating a new storyline right in front of you.
You can have Arya fighting alongside of Jon Snow, and he can have Ghost, and they can be running through the stages together, and she's like, needle, 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 and she has a stab move, and then after you beat each stage, you get to up your character's stats, so you can make Arya faster, so she can use needle better, and you can unlock moves like dance, stab, attack. You can't really unlock moves in Guardian Heroes, but this should just be really fun, because it's kind of an action-adventure RPG beat-em-up. That is a genre.
The cool thing would be picking where you started out. So you'd either choose I'm going to be in the Night's Watch, and then you could be defending the wall in the north or whatever. Or you could be I want to be a Lannister in King's Landing. You kind of pick your house and where you wanted to be. I want to be a Targaryen, and then you'd be over, with Daenerys doing that whole thing. And, maybe controlling dragons, because that would be sweet. I guess that would be a problem, though, because really then who wouldn't be a Targaryen, because everyone wants dragons.
It needs the ability to switch from RTS into a single person. So you need to be controlling your armies, but then able to take over a hero on the map and actually go there and cut people down. It would be awesome. It would be such a good game.
Trials by combat. Every now and then maybe an opportunity would pop up to be you could champion someone, and then that maybe they would be your friend later in the game and do stuff for you. It's I need you to champion me in this trial by combat. And you'd go in, and if you won, hopefully you'd win, otherwise it'd be the end of the game. If you won, then they'd follow you, or they'd do favors for you later, whatever. And then also boobs.
You can unlock different characters, epic characters after you get certain endings. Say you beat the game by beating Daenerys Stormborn. Then you unlock her, and she has a special move where dragons fly across the stage, burning everything in its path, and she can't be hurt by fire. That's one of her abilities.
Now here's where this might get a little difficult, and people might hate it, is if you're affecting the Game of Thrones reality, it's gonna be different from the books, it's gonna be different from the TV show, but now it becomes your Game of Thrones, bitch. This is your world, you control it all, you get all the boobs.
There should be an achievement for the boob, seeing all of the boobs, maybe.
If you kill Joffrey, you'd get an achievement for that. I mean, you have to get an achievement for that, you little bastard. It'd be child killer, but he totally deserved it.
Achievements like Lord of the Vale or Boob Master.
Make that game. Come on, Game of Thrones. Boobs. Mega Boob Rider Mammoth Man!
As Game of Thrones fans, we can't help to admit that a Game of Thrones game could be absolutely exciting. But what about other shows you watch? Check out this previous Why We're Single as we explore just that. Also, check out this Honest Game trailer for Final Fantasy, because it's Final Fantasy and let's just be honest about this.